Is it Friday?
What?
I'm asking if it's Friday.
No, it's Saturday. Why?
Because Tanjiro got knocked the out, man.
Welcome back, my avid anime addicts. And if it's your first time here, welcome to
Anime Bunseki.
And of course, I'm your girl Shaya.
And I'm Slow. We are back with more Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba.
A quick summary of the previous episode before we go on. Tanjiro and Nezuko were headed to Mount Sagiri in search of Sonoji Urokodaki. They get attacked by a demon and Nezuko did most of the heavy lifting. Tanjiro hesitated to kill the demon, who was vaporized by the sun. They met Urokodaki. He thinks Tanjiro's resolve is weak. He starts to test Tanjiro. Tanjiro's resolve strengthens, and Tanjiro passes the test, impressing Urokodaki, who accepted him as his student.
Episode 3 promises to be action-packed, so let's go! The episode begins with Urokodaki explaining exactly what the Demon Slayer corpse is. But should you happen to have a genius-level IQ of, say, 200, then you'd probably be thinking something like, well, obviously the Demon Slayer Corps is an organization formed to slay demons. And you'd be correct. You'd be correct.
Well, it is a lot more intricate than that. The Corps is an organization unrecognized by the government that has been around since ancient times with hundreds of members. But as for the leaders of the Corps, well, that's still a mystery.
Urokodaki then goes on to explain the threat of man-eating demons. Their physical prowess far exceeds any human. They have high-speed regeneration. Some can even shapeshift and use magic. Demons can only be killed by sunlight and decapitation using a special sword. Man, imagine going up against something like that. The Demon Slayers sure do have their jobs cut out for them.
So, Urokodaki begins to train Tanjiro after accepting him as his student. Every day, they would leave the cabin on train in the mountains, each exercise harder than the first.
This is basically Tanjiro's rocket training montage, and Urokodaki has him on a grueling regime.
A few important things to note apart from obviously getting physically stronger. Tanjiro was taught swordsmanship, how to properly maneuver with a sword, and a powerful breathing technique called total concentration breathing.
Urokodaki was training Tanjiro to master the breath of water style, which was a special form of swordsmanship with forms, breath techniques, and moves, all based on, well, water.
Tanjiro kept a journal which he wrote in every night, documenting his training and also expressing the toll it took on him. While Tanjiro trained, 6 months have passed, and his sister Nezuko had fallen into a deep hibernation state. She hadn't been awake since arriving at the cabin. Tanjiro was worried, but nothing seemed to be wrong with Nezuko. She was just asleep.
After an entire year of training and becoming one with the water, Tanjiro had made noticeable progress. Urokodaki declared that he had nothing left to teach him and brought Tanjiro to a huge boulder. You know, like the ones that always seem to somehow block your path in RPGs? Yeah, that kind of boulder. Urokodaki tells Tanjiro that he'll only permit him to enter the final selection exam if he's able to slice the boulder in two, then turns and leaves without another word.
You've probably guessed it, but the final selection exam is how new Demon Slayers are recruited. Only those who survive the final selection can become official members of the Demon Slayer Corps.
Survive? What is with animes and these fatal exams? Naruto had it, countless people died in the Chunin exams, Hunter x Hunter had it, in the Hunter licensing arc. Couldn't it just be like a normal written exam? No?
Anyways, Tanjiro doubted that he could slice the boulder. It was huge, and he thought maybe his sword would break. But still, he took his stance and swung his sword with all his might, only to do more damage to himself than the boulder.
Tanjiro realized that in his current state, slicing the boulder would not be possible. He started to train harder and harder every day for another 6 months, but still, even after all that time, he had made no noticeable progress.
While having a mental breakdown in frustration of not being able to cut the boulder, Tanjiro hears a voice telling him to stop whining. Men don't whine. No, Tanjiro hadn't gone crazy, and it wasn't his conscience.
A young man wearing a fox mask is sitting on the boulder, berating Tanjiro, then suddenly attacks him, knocking him to the ground. This guy is throwing some mean insults, calling Tanjiro slow, weak, and immature. Bro, chill. That even hurt my feelings.
After berating Tanjiro, the masked man tells Tanjiro to stand, ready his sword, and attack him.
Tanjiro pointed out that he has a real sword, while the masked man only had a wooden one. The dude laughed maniacally. How do you not run for your life after something like this?
During a pretty bad-ass action scene, the masked man tells Tanjiro that he is stronger than him because unlike Tanjiro, he has already sliced the boulder.
Is it Friday?
What?
I'm asking if it's Friday.
No, it's Saturday. Why?
Because Tanjiro got knocked the out, man. And I mean knocked out cold, bruh. My guy was asleep. He needs some milk.
Tanjiro wakes up finding a young girl beside him. Her name is Makomo, and the masked man is Sabito. They are both siblings fond of Tanjiro's trainer, Urokodaki. Everything else about them is a mystery.
Makomo helped to further train Tanjiro, pinpointing his flaws and honing his skills. She explains the power of the breathing techniques, stating that it increases the power of the human body to match that of a demon's.
Tanjiro would train and return to fight Sabito, but would lose every time. This continued for an additional 6 months. Until one day, Tanjiro confronted Sabito, but this time was different. Sabito had bought a real sword instead of a wooden sword, which he had always used prior. Tanjiro was noticeably different. He looked like a wandering swordsman. They both attacked each other in an instant, and in that very instant, fight was over just as quick as it started. Tanjiro had sliced Sabito's mask in two.
Both Sabito and Makomo smiled and congratulated Tanjiro, telling him to beat that guy. Then they both seemingly vanished into the mist. Tanjiro was sure his sword had just cut Sabito's mask, but right before him was the boulder. He had finally sliced it in two.
After 2 years of training, Tanjiro was now ready for the final selection exam.
Ufotable never seems to disappoint when it comes to these action scenes. The animations are crazy.
And that was episode 3 of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Be sure to check back with us next week, guys, for another episode. And remember, just because the episode is over doesn't mean it has to end here. You could go follow us on Twitter or check out our Patreon page.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you made it to the end, why not leave a like and subscribe? Please comment and let us know if you enjoyed this and what other anime is currently on your watch list. All our links are in the description. Until next time, guys.